Hey everybody. In this video, I wanted to introduce the concept of the 9 planets as talked about in India and in the Vedic astrological system of that country, um, as a specific way of talking about how your karma is borne out by your personal interaction with these 9 planets. So this video is going to be an introduction to that. And my hope is to make future videos that are focused more individually on each one of those. Before we begin and go any further, though, I'd like to do a brief clearing process with you just to help lighten your burden a little bit and also to help make you more receptive to what we're going to talk about in this video. So if you would just take a deep breath wherever you are, if you'd like to receive this. I'm just going to ask, even without knowing who you are as we do this video recording, and you're watching it, we're going to ask to do an initial clearing for you now of any blocks. This is going to be clearing some of your karma as well as we go into this work. Taking a few deep breaths. This work can also help to clear your mind a bit from stuff you may have brought in from your life prior to watching this video. And you might feel whatever you're feeling, some energy, some heat, some cold. You might feel and notice kind of a tiredness. I debated whether or not to do this before actually talking to you, but I thought just a few moments of clearing work would be useful. Even if you don't continue watching the video, it will still be useful. Still working on clearing. Just relax your body and your mind. And notice if you feel an energy, even though I'm making this video prior to you watching it, it doesn't make any difference. There's no time or space in spirit. And so you may feel energy being really present with you, around you, within you. It's not me who's really doing the clearing. I am facilitating the clearing, but the clearing is really taking place as a function of just your connection with spirit, your connection with your own higher self. So I don't have to know what the blocks are, what the issues are. We're just going to let this energy run for another minute or so. Just noticing. Getting ready to just receive a little bit more insight about the nature of karma in this video and the nature of how to become more free of that restriction, that restrictive energy. And we're just going to draw this clearing to a conclusion. Now, don't let the small amount of time kid you into realizing that it may have been a very powerful experience you've already had. If you didn't notice much, that's also okay. Coming from that space, I want to talk a bit about this idea of the 9 planets. So 9 planets is a specific idea. It's a cosmological idea. It's a karmic idea. It also does have some literal physical significance. And we're here talking about the Vedic tradition or the tradition of India, the tradition of Vedic astrology as well. These 9 planets are not exactly the same as you may have learned about in astronomy class. They include the sun. The sun is a planet in this case. They include the moon. And also 2 additional so-called planets are also the north and south nodes of the moon. This is something similar in Western and in Vedic astrology. It also includes Mercury, Venus, Mars. It includes Jupiter and Saturn. And these 9 so-called planets, some of which aren't planets and some of which are not physical objects at all, it is said that these 9 planets are what is responsible for playing out your karma in your incarnation here. In India, these planets are called the Navagraha, and Nava meaning 9, and Graha meaning to grasp. And it's said that these planets grasp your karma. And one of the ways that that can be looked at is how the planets show up in your birth chart. If you have ever run a particular birth chart for yourself in any system, there's a particular photograph there of where the planets appeared at your time of birth, but also how the planets move throughout your life and how your unique soul history interacts with the movements of the planets. We're talking about here at some level, there are, these physical planets do move through our sky, what looks like our sky here from Earth. Even the sun appears to move. But this is a very mystical issue. It's not just about, it's not even really maybe at all about the physical movement of the planets. The planets in the Vedic system are really looked at as forms of gods. And they're predictable. Their movements are predictable, and they have shorter or longer scale motions. And over the course of thousands of years, the Vedic astrologers and the rishis and gurus have been able to really intuit what these motions mean and how they affect people and what they represent for various people in terms of your past life karma, your present life karma, how the movements of the planets, these 9 planets, are actually playing out and bringing up within your psyche your karma. And not as a way of punishing you, but as a way of helping you fulfill the purpose that you're here for on earth, which is primarily to become a free being, to free yourself up from the restrictions imposed by karma throughout your soul history. Become freer means to become more spiritualized, or to raise your vibration, or some people say ascension, or some people use the word heaven. All of these things, I think, are equivalent, and they have to do with the primary purpose of each of our soul's journey here on the planet, this life or any lifetime, which is to find God or to find spirit. Of course, this can mean finding spirit within, becoming more aware, becoming more clear, raising your vibration, entering into a greater space of harmony with source. These are all synonyms. So a spiritual teacher of mine from India, a person who really was a major part of my awakening, showed me what is commonly known in that tradition, which is that there are really 2 main factors that are responsible for karma. And I keep bringing up this word karma because it is really my mission and my purpose. I really see it as being such, to help to transmute, to help people to clear and to resolve these issues. And to be able to understand them better can really help us to understand, what does this process mean? What is karma in the first place? And how do we become more free of it? So this teacher of mine described that the 9 planets play out our karma here on the earth plane. And so one of the primary ways of clearing or resolving karma is by working with the 9 planets. 9 planets are the major factor of our soul's karma, according to the Vedic tradition. The other major factor is the ancestors. The ancestors have handed down to us certain blessings and also certain problems that they created, mostly inadvertently, or that they weren't able to heal or resolve in their life at the time. In my work, those of you who have done clearings with me before know that I often talk about biological ancestors, but also symbolic ancestors. There are ancestors that we're not biologically related to, but that are part of our lineages, ethnically, religiously, our education, where we live on the planet. All of these kinds of things can be part of our ancestral karmic inheritance. But this video is focused on the first of those, which is the 9 planets. So when we start getting into planets, the first thing that many people who are on kind of a more evolutionary path might get into is astrology, and they begin to cast the birth chart. And there's lots of different nuances, tremendous depth to being able to interpret that kind of birth chart. And a lot of times, a lot of importance is given to that birth chart. And it might be perhaps the only point of focus, or looking at, based on that chart, where are the planets now for you at your current age. What I'm talking about here is a little bit different than that. I never ask in my work for someone's time or place or date of birth. I never really am interested so much in the birth chart, because it is a fact that all 9 planets are somehow influencing us all of the time. And we can begin, this is one of the major key factors in what has attracted me to the Vedic tradition so much, and what distinguishes it from Western astrology. Both traditions, you have a birth chart that you can look at, and you can interpret some things, perhaps some lessons or some tendencies or some personality characteristics. And these can be very, very valuable for us to know about. In the Vedic system, though, there is a therapeutic aspect that is also included. In the Vedic system, the 9 planets, as I said earlier, are considered to be gods. They're considered to be divine beings and aspects also, beyond just the human realm, or maybe interacting and intersecting between the human and the divine realm. They're already doing that in one sense, in that they're in the sky for us, and the sky can certainly symbolize a higher place, or it's even referred to as the heavens sometime. But in the Vedic system, the planets also are connected to the realms of the gods that are well known in that system, such as Shiva and such as Lakshmi and Ganesha. The planets are connected to that realm as well. So we have the very highest aspects of the divine creative of the universe connecting to this human incarnation through the 9 planets. Even more significantly than that, the priests are, in the religious system of Hinduism, is very deeply and inextricably connected to astrology. Now, in the West, in where I was born, and in the religion I was raised in, there is no such connection. As a matter of fact, astrology is outright put down in the West as being, pseudoscience and just ridiculousness. The realm of the gods, or heaven, or spirit, is really conceptualized to be remote from us, some distant place that we may get to when we die, but it's certainly not available here and now. But in this Indian system, you have the birth chart, you have the planets, which you can physically observe. You have your specific connection to them through your birth chart. The planets are all around us. They can be observed with our eyes and with telescopes, and they connect into the realm of the divine, higher divine archetypes, also to the realm of our past lives. And there are therapeutic processes that you can participate in, often in Hindu temples, or you can hire a priest to work on your behalf. You don't have to necessarily go there personally. And these priests are trained over decades to be able to understand energetically and using the traditions to connect in a therapeutic, in a healing way, in a clearing way, your personal karma to source, to the 9, through the realm of the 9 planets, through the realm of the higher archetypes. They're able to help you to energetically get clearer, to receive what might seem to be blessings where there may have been a curse or where there may have been a blockage. So in a sense, they're using this multiple 1,000-year tradition to really clear and work with the depths of your soul. Now, it's very difficult to access your karma in ordinary human consciousness. Most of us don't tend to remember any particular past lives. We don't know why we're feeling blocked in a particular area or to a certain issue. And that's when we begin to turn to spirituality, because it offers us a potential that we can't access through our ordinary human awareness. Certainly the reason I turned to spirituality, because there were answers and questions I had that I just couldn't figure out with my ordinary, 5 sense reality. And so these remedies, what they're called, these rituals, connecting, working with certain dates and times that are auspicious, working with certain planets that might be more affecting you, depending on a particular issue that you're dealing with, or depending on what your age is and how that planet at that time is affecting you based on your birth chart. They will begin working with the realm of the planets and also the realms of the gods and goddesses that are even beyond the realm of the planets, without necessarily needing you to have a particular belief system about it. This is so interesting to me because in my tradition I was raised up in, the belief system was one of the most important things you could have. The mental concept was really your God. You had to recite certain things and certain beliefs, and it's this belief, but not that other belief. That's the right thing. And, who knows? People would tell you a certain belief to believe in, and it may as well have been anything. But you were, forced into a particular slot because this is what's been handed to you and this is what's believed to be right. These remedies and rituals that come from this Eastern tradition are not dependent on belief. They're not dependent on what religion are you, what's your belief system. They can affect you in incredibly positive ways without you having to leave your spiritual path, your religious path, to get onto any particular path. They're really, in some ways, more scientific in that way. They're useful. You can approach them depending on the person, depending on the symptom you're having, or the reason why you're looking for a clearing in the first place. You can begin to go into the realm of karma clearing, even through this system, the 9 planes, everything I've been explaining in this video. And you can experience the relief, the release, the inner shift. You can experience obstacles being removed. You didn't even know what the obstacles were, but you can feel them when they get removed. You can feel, many people who are sensitive can feel the shift once it's taken place, even if they didn't know where the block or the problem was in the first place. This is a huge discovery to me. And one of the things that I have discovered about working with the 9 planets and about these Vedic remedies and rituals is that they can be performed energetically and you don't necessarily even have to perform them within the context of the tradition. Each of the remedies, because it's been built up over the course of thousands of years, represents a certain field of healing or a certain field of clearing. It's a morphic field of energy. It's a prayer field, you could say. It's a field of clearing. And if you know how to tap into that field, you can access it. You can access the field that has been built up to help remove obstacles or to remove financial blocks or to bring greater health and healing or to clear blocks to optimism or spiritual vision or all of those things. You can begin to tap into that field and you can work with it and apply it to people, whatever their background, whatever their belief system is. And this can create a tremendous, tremendous healing, a release, and a relief for people. So just to sort of come back and circle around again, the 9 planets. This is I want to say this, that it is a complete cosmological system. The 9 planets in Vedic astrology, you might have this question, do not include traditionally the outer planets that have been discovered in our solar system in the last 100 years or so. It does not include Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Does that mean the system is not a complete system? It's a good question. In my view, it does not mean it's not a complete system. There are lots of things that we could add to the 9 planets. We could add all kinds of different things that we think are important, but within the sort of self-contained system of 9 planets, it's not just a reference to physical objects in the sky. It's a reference to a depth of internal and external cosmological understanding that has been developed over thousands of years. And by working with it as a therapeutic system of healing psychologically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you don't have to even believe in past lives in order to work with them. You can begin to experience a karmic clearing and a release from blocks that you didn't know how to access, you didn't know even what the blocks were prior. So the system of remedies, the system of therapeutic process is played down often in the West. It's looked at as trickery sometimes. You can hear even astrologers who are maybe Western born who are hearing about, well, there's this remedial aspect in Vedic astrology. And it seems kind of to them, I've read some in books and websites, people say, well, it seems kind of like you're just getting away with something. You're going to trick God or trick the planets somehow by, saying this particular mantra or wearing this particular color or wearing this gemstone. These are some of the traditional therapies that a person might give you to help work with a particular planet. But it's really not that way at all. In a sense, in a mystical sense, the planets are within you. They're an aspect of you. They're an aspect of the divine realm. And in one way of looking at it, you are looking to harmonize the function of the 9 planets within your own consciousness. And so as you do that, I have found no trickery whatsoever, or really no shortcutting in some ways to doing remedies and to doing spiritual and karmic clearing work. What it does is it helps, it's a facilitation of healing, of forgiveness, of release in an area of your own being that through ordinary human consciousness, you may not know how to access at all. The remedies, the karma clearing work, the work with the 9 planets goes into realms that have been channeled for us by divine seers and beings, gurus, rishis, over thousands of years. And they're tremendous gifts to us. People can go through their entire life and even hundreds of lifetimes in continuous suffering. But if we can trust and look at and use therapeutically the gifts from the masters they've given us, even if they don't make any logical sense to our conscious minds, if we can begin to use our own experiences and our own internal perception as a form of guidance, does this feel like it's working when I experience it? And use that to assess, do we feel better? Do we feel shifted? Are we noticing changes in our the problem areas that we were having? Then we don't really need any other external verification or proof. We can look at it as an internal therapeutic process and we can go with it. And I encourage you to seek out. And now that I've just briefly touched on what the 9 planets are, and that they are divine beings, they're external, they're in your birth chart, but they're also active all the time for all of us. They're not external to us, cursing us, but the karma that is grasped or represented by these planets may be a form of self-fulfilling curse that is within us, but we have the ability to change that by using therapies, using karma clearing work, working with the planets in therapeutic ways, so that we can release that grasp, just like we have the power to forgive anyone or anything when we're ready and we have to go through that process. No one would say, well, what that person did to you is going to be permanently, you're going to be permanently angry at that, permanently holding on to it in this maybe limiting way because of what they did. You can't change it. You might say, even in modern psychology, well, I can't change what was done, but over time, honoring my own process, I can release the poison, the anger, whatever I'm holding on to about it, forgive, and I can use that forgiveness process, use what was done as a stepping stone to come into even a greater consciousness. In a sense, karma clearing work with the 9 planets is a form of forgiveness. It's a form of facilitated forgiveness. And I would say in some ways, all energy work, all authentic spiritual work is that. It's not about shortcutting something, but we have a karmic obligation to continue in that way. There is no karmic obligation. There's no should. There's no dude in the sky somewhere who's saying, well, you have to endure that particular karma for X amount of time. There's no karmic law in spirit. The karmic law is really a belief system that we have And as modern psychology says, and many people who are self-help and new thought authors often say, it's only a thought form, and a thought form can be changed. So working with the 9 planets, working with karma clearing work helps us to access those deeper realms within ourselves, to transform areas and aspects that are challenging or more slow going to be able to access on our own. And oftentimes, traditionally, without using karma clearing technology, without using high vibrational work, without using karma clearing technology, such as with the 9 planets, it can often take lifetime after lifetime of struggling with the same issue and making extremely slow progress. We need that infusion. The clearing work is an infusion of divine grace in many ways that we get to have access to if we avail ourselves of it. So this has been a bit of an introduction. I've hardly even scratched the surface of what the 9 planets are and what they do, but I hope after watching this video, you have some better understanding of what I'm referring to as karma, what I'm referring to as the human realm, the heavenly realm, the gods, the goddesses, what I'm referring to as these divine beings over thousands of years have given us a therapeutic system of connecting in with these planets. So it's not a belief-based system. It's not a mental system. It's an experiential system. And I would encourage you to dig into some of my work and some future videos I'm going to create on this topic, where we're going to go into individual planets, and you can see how in these videos, maybe how individual, as we go into 1 or 2 therapeutic processes with each planet, how that feels to you. And at that moment, you may get some insights about, wow, this planet must be something significant for me based on a feeling of shift that I have when I participate in those clearings. So let's just do one more moment of clearing work here. Just asking that any blocks to what I've said, what's been revealed in this clearing today, in this video, would be cleared within each person watching. We be receptive and available. Beautiful. Thank you so much, friends, for watching. If you'd like to be in contact with me, please click over to my website, clearingconnect.com. I'd love to hear from you. Peace and blessings.